Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Under Construction. I'm your host, Ellis, otherwise known as Train Man, and with me for our discussion topic this week, I have...
We have Dean. Yeah.
Milky.
And Mason.
Okay.
Mason always goes last.
Train
And the
Man.
discussion topic... Well, no, because somebody said "and" their name. I don't need to do "and Train Man" if there isn't... If the last person goes... If the last person does it right, basically.
Okay,
But Ashtown Productions...
We are very good at this.
Ashtown Productions asked, one thing I'm sure you have discussed before, but I'm gonna ask anyways. Perhaps you could tell us the plan of the Iron Horsemen's future and what you plan to do. So, this is something that I have mentioned very briefly on the show before, or on various shows, just sort of whenever it's come up. But,
I've been asked many times.
yeah, I have been asked a couple of times. I've mentioned it. You know, it's a question. You know, it's something that I kind of expect to hear because we haven't done anything with the Iron Horsemen in a while, at least not outwardly. Some people, though, I'm sure, some people that are not involved in productions may have seen us recently dicking around on BM&S, on Blue Mountain Southern, which is a Gmod train build server.
And it's private, so don't get...
Yeah, it's private because we use it for... Or it's private and we use it for filming.
Yep.
So, we have been filming stuff for To Rule the World, which is the next thing to come out. As you recall, some significant amount of time ago, we did put out a trailer for that.
What, 2 years now?
Yeah, it's been a while, because we're all very busy.
Yeah.
And-
That's the thing, too. I don't think we really explained how busy we got in our personal lives.
Yeah. You know, most people have jobs or go to college.
And just where I grew up.
Well, yeah, but that didn't really change anything. I don't think it's...
amount of free time.
Well, yeah, but it's changed because we have jobs and went to school, not because we grew up. Because we really didn't. We still play
Eventually,
with trains. No, we probably won't, Dean. That's the thing. Wait, does going to the strip club count as growing up?
God dang it! Can you not? I mean, mentally, no, not really. I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. You know why? Boobies. But no, it's the kind of thing that we are working on it. It's just not fast. I'm not over the summer.
Railroad news is slow.
Yeah, over the summer when I was, able to have all the free time ever, I could sit down and I could produce an episode, given the opportunity, in like 2 days or a day even, if necessary. That isn't something I can do anymore because I have other obligations. And also, who the hell is typing?
Not me. Mason.
I am. I muted the thing and it just said no.
No, you didn't.
They said you're typing loudly.
Oh, okay.
But anyways, it's that's sort of what's been happening. God, Trains is not having it today. Nothing's having it today. Everything's pegged. My entire computer.
It's gonna crash.
Just close some tabs of Chrome.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't help with your CPU.
Some crabs.
And also, I need all the tabs I have open. I closed the ones I didn't need already.
What? Crabs.
But yeah, so we've all been. It's good that we have us though. Milky, I would have liked to have Chris on this one as well because he's been doing a lot for like side projects. A lot of people have been doing sort of Iron Horsemen side projects-esque kind of stuff. Not really public release stuff, but just for our own fun.
Yeah. We've been doing a lot of work for side projects related to the Horsemen.
Yeah, God, I'm totally out of control. I'll put an input, it'll last 5 times longer than I need it to. But, yeah, no, we have been toying around with it because it's still fun. It's still what we like to dick around with.
Yeah.
Chris and I have been working on... Well, actually, let me go through... We can talk about what we've actually got roadmapped because
Yeah, we do have an episode guide, and we do have a concrete plan for the next season or two.
yeah,
Next season at least.
the next season and a half.
Season and a half, yes.
Yeah, because we've got To Rule the World, then we've got the half season that
And
finishes
then
off
season
season
3.
2, and then season 3 is planned, and most of the first half of season 3 is written.
Well, that's not
So we
even the
do
first
have a
half. More like,
So,
more like
for the foreseeable future.
you got like 5/8 of a season 3 done. Like,
Well,
like
yeah, but it's
written
called a
down.
half season. So I'd say it's a half.
Okay.
By volume, I mean, then again, yeah, but consider that the feature is going to take up, is going to be worth
A lot.
like 4 scripts.
Yeah.
Because it's, 60 to 90 pages, and an episode is 20. So
Yeah.
the thing that we started to bang out back when we figured we'd have more free time was that the seasons would comprise of 13 episodes in the first half season, so the A part of a season. And then we'd have a feature,
A feature.
which would be, 90 minutes or so. 60 to 90 minutes. And then we'd have another half season of about 5 episodes. And we'd plan this out, and we were going to work on it, and we did work on it a little bit. In fact, some of the stuff for the half season after To Rule the World is already ready to go, pretty much.
And there's a lot of episodes that have been written.
Yeah. Well, that's, I've gotten through, let's see, because in season 3, or in season 2B, all of the episodes are written except for one. One of them was done by a guest writer. It was done by Flegel, who writes for The Road to Denver. And then in season 3A, episode 1 is being worked on because it needed to be revisited. It was originally Chris started writing that, and then I took over for him. And then 2 through 12 or so are done, barring I think 1 or 2 episodes that are the narrow gauge episodes. Let's see. I'm pulling this from memory here because I'm trying to work on the river.
Okay, I'm looking at the actual episode
Yeah.
guide that we have planned.
Yeah, feel free to correct me.
Uh,
So one is underway, and then I think, did I mark 13? Did I mark Meeting Across the River as done? Like ready to
Free to air?
voice acting.
not ready to air. Okay, yeah, it should be marked voice acting. Yeah. Okay, so the script for that one is done too, but the one before it is not.
We have about half of the episodes in season 3 away for voice acting.
Yeah, it's a good number of amount of stuff that's done, that's ready. It's the actual production of the episodes that takes time, not the voice acting. And you can write any time. Like I can write a little bit in my spare time, but it takes a lot more to get everyone to sit down and try to film something. Especially for Garrys Mod, because you need a bunch of people. When you're filming in trains, it's relatively easy. You just sit down and, you sit down by
Film.
yourself and you film.
Or every now and then have the AI do something.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, even then, though, that's still one person. You're the only person there. We're not doing it in multiplayer. God, that'd be impossible.
That'd be fun, but no.
It'd be
No.
death.
It would not be fun at all. Yeah. It's fun trying to do the stuff in Garrys Mod because it's like, okay, who can do green screen, or trying to get us to stand around and walk certain ways and look certain ways. We're actually acting. We're doing machinima,
Yep.
which is something that from the beginning I'm not sure we really planned to do. And not a lot of episodes call for it, but To Rule the World calls for it quite a bit. And so we have to really get in there and get a lot of that done. And that's a big portion of what takes so long, because the machinima is that much harder to do.
Yeah.
which is pretty much any time we have human characters in. Whoa, I didn't want to go over
human
here.
characters doing human actions.
Yeah.
And not just standing there in the background.
Or not just, in the cab.
Yeah.
Like, we can have Mike and Jeff and, Kurt all day long. That's easy. When you add in Jerry, it's like, okay, put the little Jerry figure down on the map and record him standing there. But other than that, it's like, okay, we've got to get IG Mod for this one. We've got to, these people have to walk in here, they have to look at this thing, they have to talk about these things. And there's quite a few people.
Oh, this office needs an interior. We need to do that.
Yeah. And the other thing is when you have big set pieces, or when you have big, not set pieces, the thing I was going for is action sequences, a train crash, there was, what?
It was one of the Narrow Gigs episodes, we had a bridge fall down.
We did have a bridge fall down, but what was the other one? I'm thinking of the other one, it was a 2-foot episode.
2-foot?
Or not a 2-foot episode specifically, but it had 2-foot stuff in it.
I remember Mark dragging his tender.
Yes, that was it. That was in Battle of the Age, wasn't it? That was the first.
Yeah.
That was the first episode of
Age.
season 2.
Yeah.
That had some Garrys Mod stuff in it as well. Garrys Mod green screen stuff. The other thing is Weibold, because he no longer has his Mac, no longer has the tools and stuff, to the point where we have to make a new intro at some point because we just don't have the old one. It's gone.
So what we could do is rip the intro from one of the early episodes.
No, we can't do that though because the text is different.
Oh yeah, I'm stupid. My bad. But anyway, we know that we're gonna probably be using a new intro for season 3 anyway.
Yeah. And honestly, the only thing past To Rule the World that's already got the old intro is the episode immediately following it, which is done, which is a Christmas Cole, actually. I don't want to give any spoilers, but I don't really mind giving out episode titles as much. But yeah, it's our parody.
Christmas.
Yeah, it's our obligatory Christmas episode, but our obligatory parody of A Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Which every series needs.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So it isn't anything too new.
No. It is a very important episode, though. It does introduce a lot of things.
It is.
Yeah, a lot
of stuff that's relevant.
Yeah,
Actually, that's true. No, it doesn't introduce it, does it? Because here's the roadmap. The other thing that I'm forgetting that I didn't mention when we were talking about.
It's a season 3 writing thing.
Yeah. It's
go ahead.
No, I was saying the thing that I didn't get to mention was the fact that after To Rule the World comes out, we have the mid-season break, or what would be the mid-season break if we were doing everything by the schedule. And in that mid-season break, you'd get the short story set. And in the short story set, it introduces some of the concepts that get played with in A Christmas Cole.
Yeah.
No spoiling what they are, though.
Yeah. But before that, we needed to get through the world tour.
Yeah, well, that's what that is. That's the short story set.
No, I thought it was the other one.
What do you mean?
You're on the dock.
The research paper.
The research paper is the season 3 one. That's farther down the road.
Yeah, I thought that we were talking about the season.
No, I'm talking about the season 2 one.
Yeah.
The season 2 is when To Rule the World is, and A Christmas Cole.
And then should season 4 be?
I don't know what season 4 is going to be. It could be any one of the character-based things. Because Chris started writing Trippin' on Anthracite, which
and never finished it.
But I haven't finished. I haven't finished the world tour either.
Well, it's got like one more story left, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, but he's got 2 years, 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've got that. You've got stuff that you've been working on, Milky. If you want to talk about that. Because that's not really spoilery.
Well,
Um,
I've just been gathering a whole bunch of different engines from different railroads that could be brought up in the expanded universe in the future.
yeah.
Particularly the White Pass and Yukon Railroad.
And Mookie's been playing with all the surviving 3-footers, like
Mhm.
outside of Colorado. A thing that isn't in Colorado.
And the few that got moved from Colorado.
Yeah. We have a vague plan for what goes on in Colorado in the future with the narrow gaugers, but that's the thing that I got to get to. So we have written most of up to the end of season. Well, we have written most of up to the end of season 3A. After that, things are kind of up in the air, but we have a structure of what we want to do, which follows the same thing. It's got 13 episodes in the first half of a season, a feature, 5 episodes in the second half of a season, and before the second half of the season, you get a short story set.
Yeah.
And at the end of the season, you get a PSA, or at some point, you get a PSA. Which is usually just a humorous little thing. It's either something about the production of the series, or it's just whatever. We have a couple of silly ideas for that. But there are up to 10 seasons planned. They're on the roadmap. It's a question of when are we going to get there, and the answer is not soon. But they're on the roadmap.
Yeah.
And then once we get through 10 seasons, which would bring us all the way to 1962, that's the end of steam on the Iron Horsemen, and then we sort of tune back in the modern era for a series of movies, basically.
I think it's like 5 movies.
It's 4 movies. There's one that's about sort of... Well, I don't need to go into what they're about, but necessarily, because I don't want to be again too spoilery.
Yeah, I'm trying not to
Yeah.
spoil too much.
Yeah, I mean, but the
we got a lot of
timeline.
stuff planned.
Yeah, the
for the future.
timeline for those is we tune back in 2003, which is a few years after the modern part of the Iron Horsemen Chronicles takes place, with Jerry telling the stories. And so you have an older Steven, and you have a modern Iron Horseman Railroad, and,
Some
and
familiar faces.
yeah,
come back.
familiar faces, and some new faces.
And some new faces.
And, a story that we've harped on since the very beginning. And, it's the kind of thing where I'm excited looking forward to that, but that's way off. I'm not going to try to jump that far.
It kind of goes around full circle.
Yeah, everything comes full circle. That's a good way to put it. But that's the first, and then we have another one which is similar. It more directly talks about the Iron Horseman Railroad and its future.
Yeah.
And that's addressed, and then we sort of get on a tangent, and then we go off and talk about other things, because we have some stuff planned out. The thing that Chris and I have been working on, or have worked on a lot, and this is what I kind of wish he was here for, and I hope he doesn't get upset at me for talking about it on air. But there's a thing that we've been working on called Saturdays at Steamtown, which doesn't really have any scripts, but we've been playing with the characters and stuff like that. And in the future of the Iron Horseman, from the Iron Horsemen Chronicles point of view, but in 2003 or so, Steamtown is a thing as it is in the real world, but it has some distinct differences, it being that it operates the area around it instead of just being a museum. And has all of the characters, or most of the characters that we know at Steamtown, or rather, most of the engines that are there, but as characters. And we talk about why in the Iron Horseman universe this Steamtown is the way it is, which is it serves as almost a refugee point for locomotives with no known or functional or capable owner.
That's it.
And
Okay.
the reason for that is because a very important and large locomotive, was lost instead of making it to preservation. And the people
Again, no spoilers.
What?
Again, no spoilers.
Again, no spoilers as to who that is. but it's not somebody we know. It's not someone who's been a character. It's a new character, or it's a new individual, I should say. And sort of the question comes up of, well, is the engine really lost? And so it's, then we focus on the Steamtown characters, and they're sort of...
It's in the barn in New York.
Yeah, no, it's not in the
You're
barn.
ruining it, Milky.
Oh God, spoilers. No, it's
Milky,
not.
you're fired.
It's not that.
No, it's not.
Yes.
But,
No.
And funnily enough, it's not an engine that in real life was lost. It's just an engine that we picked mostly so that we could fit a title theme.
Yep.
Because I started making Star Trek references.
No, like movies. The movie titles themselves are Star Trek references. So, like,
Yeah, that's what I mean. But the second one had to be named the way it
Similar.
was so that it could be a Star Trek reference. And so we had to
Yeah.
pick the name that we did so that it could be a Star Trek reference, and that tied it into a concept character for the Iron Horsemen that never made it in.
He got
Yeah.
close, but he wasn't
Yeah.
quite there.
He
He survived the
in.
first perks of characters,
Yeah,
because we have all sorts of characters that we came up with that didn't make it into the suit.
Oh, we had so many characters.
Yeah, look, he's in Asterisk.
Yeah, but he's
It's
planned
very
for
big.
the future. He's planned to be a real character. I'm a real character in the future.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Yeah.
I really wish my CPU would chill.
That'd be
Get a new
Calm
one.
down. Yeah, I would like to get a hex. I would love to be able to spend the money on a hex, but I do not have the money for that right now.
Just overclock it and put a very large fan next to it.
And then it blows
Straight
up.
up, take your desk fan and point it at your computer.
No, it's just gonna blow up anyway. So why bother?
Well, let's see. Can I do anything like? I don't think I could turn down. I can just
Turn
off
down tree
post-process.
detail.
Yeah, I can turn down all this crap for now. I'm not sure if that'll really help, because I bet you the real pain on the CPU is just coming from the shadows.
I'll get rid of the shadows.
Well, I have to
Doing
restart
it.
the game for that.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I was like, do that. Wait a minute.
Nut.
Nut. 20
Yeah,
Ds.
Yeah,
we
we just have this huge stock full
We
of
do.
characters that we...
Well, we had the document that was full of, like, we had a document ages and ages ago, and it still exists, and we still reference it from time to time, but it's become less useful as things have gotten bigger, which was just called the Iron Horsemen Chronicles, and it was the original doc. It's where we put down all our ideas. It's where we, selected the characters. It's where we designed the route and the history, and, it's basically
Yep.
the number one, it's the first point of reference for somebody who's trying to write for the Iron Horsemen. And I've been sort of tweaking it over the years as such, so that it can be more useful
like
in that regard.
Yeah.
That looks like a boot.
You look like
Or like a foot. No, like that's like patch of land. You look like a shoe.
You look like a shoe.
Look at it. You don't understand.
I do understand.
Shots
It looks like a
fired.
bone. It looks like your leg bone.
Yeah.
Your upper
Mm.
leg bone. This part goes in, this is your hip joint, and your kneecaps right here.
Yeah, and I look at it from a distance angle. It looks like a horse leg. Good lord, what's wrong with me today?
I don't know, I could eat a horse leg right now.
God, dude, you would hate it.
Why? Do you know, have you eaten horse leg?
Have you heard of Tesco?
Speaking from experience,
Tesco is Wild horse on the Minecraft server, so...
Yeah, but there's
So
a-
you ate
Oh.
Wild horse.
No,
That's what I'm getting out of this.
I'm saying that there was a place in a store in the UK called Tesco.
Okay, but did
And-
you eat the horse?
No.
Then you're not allowed to comment on this horse leg eating thing.
God.
And we obviously have the idea stock.
Yeah. Back to what we're actually talking about. So that's the other thing. We have a lot of episode ideas that we've accumulated And it's
probably way more than are going to be used.
It's probably way more than 10 seasons worth, but also it's probably, a good number of those episodes are either duds, or, we don't need to really cover them. Like, they're not all that important.
Or they could just become short stories or something.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, honestly, I went in there and I pruned it not too long ago.
Yeah.
I was trying to remove... See, one thing that we've got to talk about, or that you've got to consider when you're coming up with a series like this, is it's not really that easy to just throw in a character.
It's not.
No, it really is.
And say, oh, this character's here, and then use that character, and then never see them again. It's not really that smart, and it's not really that easy either.
Oh.
And it's been done before, believe us.
It's the hallmark of a lot of things. Most shows, you don't have a consistent cast, all the time. You'll always have characters that just show up for one or two episodes. Yeah.
Obligatory celebrity episode.
Well, yeah, but I'm thinking more like... I mean, this is a particularly bad example because, jumping all over the place. But, like Doctor Who, most of the characters you meet in an episode you'll never see again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's rare to see... It's rare to run into somebody again. Now, that's an extreme example because that's what the show is based around, kind of.
But the Horseman isn't that way.
The Horseman is not that way. The Horseman, we have a cast of characters. We have a relatively static cast of characters. And yeah, over time that changes. In the very near future roadmap, we will be gaining a couple more. Yeah, that's right. We'll be gaining a couple more. And we'll be
losing some more.
We'll be losing some more. Because we already gained one in the form of Chris.
And Morgan.
And Morgan, that's right. And Big Joe, I guess, didn't show up until later.
He didn't show up till the second episode of season 2.
Yeah. That's because season 1 didn't have a lot of Douglas-related stuff.
So.
Yeah. Season 1 was just an introduction to the railroad, pretty much.
Season 1 was as much the audience learning about the railroad as it was us learning about the railroad. None of us had really ever done this before. Some of us had written stuff, but doing something on this scale was totally foreign.
It was.
And yeah, we had a lot to learn, and we had a lot to figure out, because when you're inventing canon...
Inventing a canon? Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, canon was a big deal, too, because we tied in the Iron Horsemen with an existing universe by just a throwaway line.
That's
episode 1.
Throwaway line.
Okay, so let me talk a bit about something else that's bound for the future. And we mentioned this a couple of times already, but that's the World Tour. The World Tour is the short story set that's coming out after To Rule the World, while we prepare to produce season 2B, or not 2B.
I knew it.
And that is about... The purpose of that is largely to...
Explain to you guys.
Yeah, explain to all the viewers what the world around the Iron Horseman is like, because something that...
It's like an alternate reality of our world.
It's not an alternate universe.
It is. It's an AU. It's an alternate history. It's an alternate universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have alternate laws of physics, which will be explained in a different short story set. But yeah, we've got some stuff, and the entire reason that we have to go in and explain all that is one singular throwaway line in
episode 1.
in On Stranger Ties, which is a Williams line saying that he met a battleship called Balto.
God damn it.
And that... Now, we could have just ignored it, because, it's a throwaway line. It does not matter. But
It's a reference to...
Yeah. It could have...
It's a reference to the alternate universe.
Yeah.
Sort of.
It's a reference to what we've called for a long time the Warships universe, which is something that we made up on our Minecraft server
in and of itself.
Years ago.
Yeah.
And had largely been kind of dormant. We dicked around a little bit with the alternate history aspect of it, but we hadn't really, gone all in or really written that much heavy stuff on it in a while. And
Yeah.
so we were presented, I was presented with the opportunity because of this line to go, all right, that's it. We're tying the worshipped universe in. It's, we're just in the worshipped universe.
And then everyone was like, wait, what?
Yeah. And because of that line, we are now existing in an alternate history. And it's also, it's allowed us to sort of make the Iron Horseman universe our own a little bit more, but also to flesh out this alternate history that we didn't fool around with that much.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a nightmare currently because we've really had to dance around a couple subjects on the show, like what the names of the countries are.
Yeah.
But one was like directly a reference in a season. I mean, not season, episode. The episode with the Camelback. Like a country was directly referenced.
Yeah, which one?
I bet.
Was it?
The Delmar Empire.
Okay, yeah, because that was me sort of sneaking that in there and sort of trying to cement this down. So now we've got other references to the alternate universe in the Iron Horsemen.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of just throw a couple things in there to prepare everyone. Also, no, the episode with the Camelback. Yeah, that is out, isn't it? Yeah, that's out.
Yeah, it's been out for about 2 years.
But the one where it committed suicide?
Yeah.
I'm
sorry, I was confusing it with the other one that relates to
the
other one.
Sure that it's out.
So
it's out.
Yeah,
so there's another Camelback somewhere.
No. But there's the other episode that features the Camelback. That relates to it, I should say.
Yeah,
but that's not going to be out for a while.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what I was thinking of. That's why I was confused.
Okay.
Because I've been having to go through that episode and sort of peruse and, this looks good enough. I'm going to leave this as is. And peruse and sort of figure stuff out because of how that ties the season together. But yeah,
the season or the series? Or the universe?
Well, no, it ties season 3 together. It's got it's got implications in season 3. Season 3 has, just like season 2 had the overarching story with Chris, season 3 has an overarching story which does involve Chris, but also involves Cole and involves a couple of other very important things, and is why in season 3 the short story set is going to be effectively a research paper about how and why locomotives are sentient.
Well, not just locomotives though. It's machines in general.
It's the full title of it is the Boltzmann theory of vehicular sentience, and it actually does extend to more than just vehicles. But that's the easiest. That's the first thing that springs to mind.
Yeah.
Just something. This is all because one guy went the wrong way.
Sort of like that.
He
didn't go the wrong way.
Has influence over everything.
Yeah.
He didn't go the wrong way. He ran away, didn't he?
I'm not sure entirely what's being referenced.
I'm looking at the History of the World doc.
Oh, okay.
Particularly at the beginning, where the timeline shifts from our universe into the Horse
to theirs.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to remember what the stuff was at the beginning. We'll have to look at that because it's been a while since I went on the History of the World doc.
Yeah, it's.
But in this situation, in the Iron Horseman universe, I might as well just explain this for a second. In the Iron Horseman universe, the reason that locomotives are sentient and can communicate and stuff like that is the fact that I suppose you might call it the Boltzmann threshold or the Boltzmann constant, is much lower than it is in our universe. And what that means is, first, what's important to know is what a Boltzmann brain is, and a Boltzmann brain is one of the theories of how the universe exists, which is that given enough time and enough matter and enough energy, particularly the amount of energy, the amount of different states that energy can take up can effectively create consciousness, because there's enough going on. There's enough flip-flops, there's enough data and processing going on within just energy, within just a cloud of energy, that it can create conscience.
Conscience.
Yeah.
And in our universe, that would probably be very high if it was possible at all. But in this universe, the threshold for it is very low. So you get a decent amount of energy, a couple of horsepower worth of energy in one spot, and boom, you've got something that thinks.
Sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, I could reference our favorite boxcar, but
well, again, that's still enough energy. That's what the motor is caused by that. The motor is what gives the boxcar enough energy. Yeah, I mean, Lassie has a pretty significant impact in season 2.
In season 3, right?
No, in season 2.
Oh,
Lassie helped
Ivan.
Yeah, Lassie helped Ivan at the trial.
By being a messenger.
Yeah, exactly.
The quote-unquote carrier pigeon.
Exactly, the carrier boxcar.
Carrier boxcar.
The messenger boxcar. But, that's... Look at this face.
That looks really creepy.
Yeah, it does.
Oh yeah.
But that's what she did, and that's...
Don't mind that.
What the hell is that?
Phone.
God damn it.
It's the text, don't worry.
That's the... Oh, really? I thought it would be a friggin' booty call, Dean.
God dang it. No! It's a text. Anyway.
But, that's... Putting a motor in a boxcar, a motor that's, that was that powerful, was enough to allow Lassie to develop a consciousness. And that's just how it works. But we're kind
it'd
of...
be very hard to understand her.
Yeah. It's very hard to understand, because she's a very small engine in a very large shell. So the sphere of influence of the engine itself, or the sphere of influence of the brain, so to speak, is not quite large enough to reach everything that the boxcar is made of, so she can't talk too well, because the speaking is just vibration, just like us in our voice box. Locomotives basically vibrate their parts or outer shell or whatever in order to talk, in order to communicate, in order to make word-like sounds.
Yeah.
It's funny, I think we've had Johnson sing so many out-of-place things, I don't think we've had him sing his theme ever.
Maybe because...
I don't agree.
Look, the way I see it, like those songs, don't exist in that universe.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't know about it.
Yeah. But anyways, I'm just saying for the sake of it. But anyways, yeah, that's... But we've got a lot of that road mapped, and, the idea is with some of the things like Saturdays at Steamtown, it may take... it may sort of take the position of the Iron Horsemen Chronicles as a series when we get that far. But the idea is we're just going to keep working, We're going to keep making stuff as we can, piece by piece. I dedicate about one day a week, if at all possible, to working solely on the Iron Horsemen Chronicles.
Yep.
And that doesn't include script writing, so it's just me filming or trying to get people together to film. Last Friday...
And they've been productive.
Yeah, last Friday we did some work on To Rule the World. We made half a scene or so. All this Garrys Mod stuff that needed to get done. And then I've got to finish that tomorrow.
We're about 4 scenes in.
Yeah, we are about 4 scenes in. Some of the stuff is going to be trickier as time goes on, but largely we have it under wraps. We know what we're doing. We have people that can play Garrys Mod and get in there and film. And we've got somebody that can do green screen pretty well, because TJ edits. TJ edits very well. He wants to go to school for filming, so he better be able to do that. Or filmmaking, I should say.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see, how much time? Oh, we're 40 minutes in.
That's good. We got TJ on board.
Yeah, I'm glad that TJ is, like, started doing all that. Because he's very, very helpful. Because I'm only partially competent when it comes to editing.
Same.
Yeah.
I just suck at editing.
I don't...
I can throw together a master audio file, no problem. But
I have
I'm
done...
good at cutting myself.
I have done some, like, very minute green screen stuff. I did the green screen stuff in the trial with MacArthur.
Clark's and MacArthur's
yeah,
guns.
with them holding guns. But other than that, I really haven't done anything like that. You know, the guy again before TJ, the guy who did it best was Weibold, and he no longer has the ability to do that.
yeah.
As he did the green screen stuff for Battle of the Aged and the other one, the bridge one.
Yep.
Hell and High Water, I think it was. No, that's...
Yeah.
Hell and High,
Yeah.
That was it.
with the way down the bridge, yeah. Hell and High Water.
What else? Wasn't there another thing we had to do Garrys Mod for? Way back in the day.
Of course, we had to do Battle of the Aged, Hell and High Water, Red Scare. What else was? I think that was it.
You think so?
Yeah,
I thought there was something else.
Didn't we have someone walk into an office or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, Red Scare.
Earlier in the series?
Red Scare.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll take your word for it. I don't really remember.
Neither do I.
We did a lot of filming in Garrys Mod for him from that one episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, Red Scare.
Okay. I don't remember writing that.
Someone else
I don't recall.
No,
filming
I
it,
did.
so-
I did write Red Scare. I usually avoid the Garrys Mod stuff.
That's fine.
Mostly because I don't know how to do it. It's
fine.
purely selfish, and like, well, gee, this seems like it'll take a bit to learn. I'm just gonna ignore that and
Fake
think easier.
advanced Minecraft. There you go.
Well, yeah, but my point is, I don't feel like figuring out to go film in it. So when we were filming the other day, it was the first time that I'd logged into Garrys Mod.
In about 2 years.
Yeah, in a real long time. In at least a year, because I thought it was like December of 16.
Yeah, you tried to get on to get your Christmas presents.
And that
Yeah.
didn't.
And then I got killed again and again and again, so I just left.
Yep.
I also thought I was gonna get in trouble on BMS because you know everyone's rank is like film crew, engineer, and my rank is new guy,
Yeah.
and I'm waiting for you guys to do the scene with 3 people in a hovering train car in a giant green half dome to serve as a green screen.
Blame Weibold
And-
or someone.
Well, I mean, it was a good idea. It was just goofy looking.
Yeah, it was a good idea, but that's
but
the position
meanwhile,
wasn't
I'm
like-
puttering up the map very slowly in
Yes.
the oldest thing that I have. One of the only things that I have, which is a
Pimp-mobile.
thruster-powered thing made of wooden boards and a piece that doesn't have a texture.
Yep.
And
Well,
it's
that's not as
it's not
a
even
pimp-
advanced dupe 2. It's just a
duplicator.
It's just a duplicator object.
Wicked old.
Because
Yep.
you know, I have hardly ever made anything in Garrys Mod, and I don't have the desire to figure it out because I'm never on there, and I just I don't know, it's a lot of effort. I already have a lot of things I do that are a lot of effort, like the Iron Horsemen Chronicles.
Yeah.
Maybe when this is all over, we can relearn Gmod.
Yeah, 20 years later.
20 years later, I guess.
When Gmod 2 comes out, Ellis.
Yeah, right.
If and when. It's a giant if, really.
No, but
And
it has to
half-life
come
3.
out, and it's going to be
No.
all train build stuff.
And Source 2.
and
Source
Half-Life
2.
3.
Yeah.
Source 2 win.
It'll come out with Half-Life 3. That's when Source 2 will come out.
Otherwise known as Never.
Yeah. Whoa, game, stop freaking out on me. Computer's just not happy. Ever since I started, ever since I turned everything up, like, I figured that when I got my new computer bits, it'd be like, game runs great now. But of course what happens is you get new computer bits, and so you turn up the game,
And it gets crappy.
and it's just as bad. Except now I have a new bottleneck, which is my processor and RAM instead of my hard drive and graphics card. It's forever a struggle.
Yeah, it is.
And soon it's going to be the motherboard.
Yeah, my processor's the same.
Yeah, I will need a new motherboard at some point. Like, I will need, in order to... What the hell? What do you want? Okay, there we go.
It's because you didn't press shift.
I was holding shift.
Shift left click. Control shift in.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out where the deep spots are. I can't see them now because they covered it with water already.
And water, dirt, and muck, and poo.
Crud. Yeah, and poo especially. It's all the poo.
Poo poo. We're like
Oh,
3-year-olds.
no, not that. But yeah, that's the real roadmap. We've got,
Yeah.
we're writing, we're working on To Rule the World. Eventually it'll come out someday.
We're planning ahead for the future.
Yeah, we're planning on, 10 seasons worth of content, however you want to measure it. And then 4 features that come after that.
And some expanded universe content.
Yeah, expanded universe stuff, side series is... I mean, honestly, Saturdays at Steamtown is like the Blount and Chris spin-off.
Yeah.
But it's really not, because as far as we've written it, they're not really upfront characters. They're there, but they're not, the stuff that we've written has largely been around, mainly the new some of the characters that we've taken a liking to, like Levino, which is EJ Levino number 3, and Jefferson, who's 3713.
Yeah.
And it's been real fun, just planning out all the interactions between characters and stuff like that. It's sort of like back when we created the Horsemen originally, except we actually know what we're doing this time.
Thankfully.
And also we had somebody else pick the cast of characters because it's an existing place and not just a bunch of engines that we threw together.
Yeah. That's what I did with the White Pass. I took every engine that they ever owned.
Yeah.
Put them in the list. And right now I'm kind of determining what kind of era I want to do. I'm leaning more towards in this world, or I guess in the real world, World War II era. That's what I'm leaning towards.
But, are you talking about, like, the War in the Pacific era for our universe, or the Great War era? Because the War in the Pacific is World War II era. It basically starts 1941.
Yeah, War in the Pacific.
Yeah.
41 to 45.
When all the army engines got shipped up to White Pass.
Yeah. So, and I can talk about stuff that goes on in the universe, because that's not really spoilery. The reason that we're creating the World Tour is because people don't know it, and we need people to know it in order to comprehend what's going on properly.
Yeah, both in the current Chronicles and the future of the Chronicles.
Yeah. The entire purpose of it is just to create, or to provide the backstory that we think that everyone needs. Obviously it doesn't matter that much. You could just accept it's like, oh, okay, it's just a different name, and this is a little different, and this is a little different. But, some of the stuff like Ivan's backstory, particularly, it's important to know certain things that went on outside of the U.S., and also another character that's coming in, whose name I will not mention because it's a named locomotive in real life, and mentioning the name will just give it away straight away.
Yeah.
Hell, I forgot what it was.
It's okay. It's
I think
It's okay, don't remember it.
uh,
I remember a lot of things. Don't worry about
it's.
that.
I mean, I can. But you know who we're talking about?
No.
Okay, well, the one who came
Good.
with mint.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can give out it his name because that's not important.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter for real life.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm not just gonna start talking about that engine because
You meet him at some point in
Yeah.
the future.
yeah, exactly. Actually, he shows up fairly early on in season 3, and the engine doesn't show up until a little bit later, if
Yeah.
I recall correctly. So
Yeah,
he's a
true.
stand-up guy. Also, well, I mean,
Yeah.
you do have to help to know his backstory as well, because he's an Englishman effectively. He was born in the U.S., but not
Yeah.
really by the choice of his parents. But anyways, I digress. There's a lot of political stuff and a lot of changes just due to
Yeah.
the way that wars happen in the Iron Horseman universe, and when they happen. We don't really have that much
Yeah,
of a World War
but-
One. Instead, we have what's called the Fontaine Wars, which take
Yep.
place in the mid to late
1930s?
30s. Yeah, and then
Engine 41.
34 is when it began.
yeah,
I thought
Yeah.
it was 35, but it's 41.
it's in that area, honestly, because use the history of the world doc as the
Reference.
as the reference because the old
1930 is when it began.
1930 officially.
The first semi-annual Fontaine War Games began.
Oh, but that's not the wars. The war games.
Okay.
The war games are different. The war games were the friendly stuff that devolved.
But in that case, 1934 is when the first major attack at Blindside happened.
Yeah, and that would be effectively the beginning of the Fontaine Wars, and then
Yeah,
that goes
it-
until somewhere
1941.
around 41 or so.
35.
I'll check.
The date has honestly changed, sort of in my head at least a little bit, because we were comparing it to other real world events which didn't actually happen in the Warships universe.
It's not meant.
Oh, wait.
It's not mentioned in the history of the world doc, 'cause I never got that far. I never got
Yeah,
that
I'll
far.
put it
right.
in
the World
1941.
Doc doesn't mention the end of the
Yeah.
war.
Yeah, but it was, it was in 41, presumably. It was,
Yeah.
And then shortly thereafter you had a dissolution of one of the powers, which was in the war, which it's funny because the powers are based on people that were on the Minecraft server at this time, they sort of come in and out of existence based on who was playing. And in this case, the most major power, who was one of the most major antagonists of our war games on the server, which is what the Fontaine war games come from, just sort of left the server, and we see him around occasionally, but he's not a Minecraft player that much anymore. And so we were like, okay, well, your country's dissolving.
Yeah.
And then that also coincided with the entry of another person who never participated in the war games there, but was important enough that I considered him and threw him into the history, which is Eric, voice of Mark. And his love of Japan led to him being representative of Japan, and what I dubbed the Lunar Guard. And thus, in 1941, you have sort of the Sino-Japanese War, as it, similar to how it was in real life. And then, basically, World War II happens, but it's only the Pacific theater, because the European theater is all played out at that point.
Yeah.
Due to the Fontaine Wars.
Well, there was no World War One, so there couldn't have been a rise in fascism. So that's not going to really happen, as far as I see. Like,
Except for in this universe, the ideologies are
the same.
different.
Yeah,
Okay.
the ideologies are different a little bit. It's
Like, there isn't exactly a socialist bloc in the East.
yeah. I mean, there sort of
Like
is.
there was after World War II.
Yeah, there sort of is, but it's not something that rose in World War One and
No.
continued into World War Two. It's sort of this quasi-communist socialist government that's existed there since the Crusades, basically.
Yeah.
And that's
Communism before communism.
well, yeah, it's communism before, it's sort of a, well, I'm not sure exactly what you'd call it, but it is a socialized way of living, because it started out with a very small group of people, and then continued on to be fairly authoritarian,
Yeah.
with like a top-down distribution of goods, etc., etc.
So 1984.
Socialism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not really 1984. I mean, yes, 1984, but 1184.
1184.
Yeah.
It was before 1984. Close enough.
But
And the West isn't exclusively democracies.
yeah, the West isn't exclusively democracies. The what we would expect to be the Soviet bloc has a democratic parliament, and that sort of thing. But they still have a Tsar, who is not hereditary, but is elected out of parliament. There is a Germanic state, I guess you could call it, which has a hereditary president.
You mean a king?
A king by any
What-
other name is
A
just
hereditary
as
president is
authoritarian.
basically. Yeah, like a hereditary
There's a,
king or a hereditary president is basically just. I mean, he's just a monarch.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
but that's what it's described as. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes on, and of course we've played with some things of our own,
yeah.
in order to create, in order to toss a little bit of sci-fi, fantasy, whatever we like
Yeah.
into our worlds. Because again, this was something that we created before the Iron Horsemen Chronicles, and thus
Yeah.
we're just bringing it into the world. And they've got every nation has its own little thing.
Yeah.
And the thing is, sometimes it's, at least I know they're not like, perfect societies. It's very,
No.
at least when we went back and revised, we tried to include, some
Hardships.
yeah,
and
some
whatnot.
some realism, some this, that, and the other, because we're trying to create a real world. But that's where the Iron
Which I
Horsemen
need
is.
to do on my docs. Just
Yeah,
go back and refine the Delmere Empire, which is essentially Canada.
yeah,
blame Canada.
yeah. And
Oh.
the thing is, the thing that's been particularly virtuous is that most of the places have place names that we can use, and then say, oh yeah, but the country isn't called that. Canada is one of those, because
Yeah.
Canada was named Canada because I believe something like the natives were asked, what do you call this place? And that was their reply.
Yeah.
And so it became Canada, but the country is not Canada.
No.
And the country actually comes to exist because of a revolution, which occurred. Or no, it comes to exist. Didn't it happen because? No, yeah, no. It was the
occurred
rebellious
in
child.
it occurred in 1880
Yep. It was the rebellious
because
child.
the government at the time that they overthrew was corrupt.
Yeah. And that was
And a
that
whole
was
bunch
also,
of guys read this. Alright, I'm gonna have to check my numbers, or my dates here. But when, because, yeah, I guess it makes sense. Basically, a whole bunch of guys got together, overthrew the government,
As you do.
and were inspired by a guy named Karl Marx
Mhm.
in his works.
But that's and that's in this universe. The Delmare Empire was the rebellious child, which from the very beginning they were, because they came to exist, or the country came to exist on its own because of Benedict Arnold, in a way.
Yeah.
And the the Continental Republic, which is where the United States is, ended up getting its butt handed to it in the in what would have become the American Revolution. And
it was pretty much a failed revolution.
Yeah, it was. Well, see, when it's successful, they call it a revolution. When it's failed, they call it a civil war.
Or a failed rebellion or something like that.
Yeah. But that was that, and they, there were some provisions made, so the Continental Republic operated effectively autonomously, but then in 1920 or so, the Emilian Isles, which is the name for the UK, in this, in our universe, went completely isolationist, cut ties with all its colonial holdings, and basically said fend for yourselves, and shut its borders. And stayed that way for 50 years or so, at least. And yeah, that paved the way for the Continental Republic to be its own thing. I'm trying to remember it's bad enough remembering actual history.
But when
we made up history.
Yeah.
Nice.
Worse.
Yeah. The other thing is with the Emilian Isles, I had some intervention in the War of the Roses, I believe, with a predominantly Irish power that was victorious, and thus, and united the islands under one rule, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
No, that's how that went down. And that's why they're the Emilian Isles. And again, they are named after someone that was in the original warships, and the reason they go isolationist in canon is because that person stopped participating.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Italy, in a way. Even though he really didn't as much. But the same thing with Italy, which is the CKK, dissolved at the during the Fontaine Wars because the guy who was representative of the CKK in our Minecraft warships stopped coming on as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait till that gets out there. Yes, it's going to be confusing. I know there was one in particular one where I try to cover the intricacies of the Fontaine Wars in a couple of paragraphs, or more like a page. And Dean, I think you read it and you were like, I'm so confused. It's a dizzying amount of information because it's like, well, and then these guys attack these guys because of this alliance and this alliance and this alliance. Very much the same way that World War One happened.
World War I started.
Yeah, because of people being tied up.
It's one alliance after another, and then it just snowballs into World War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, there was some warring going on in the Fontaine with the Fontaine Wars that started, and then there was basically a case of mistaken identity with one of the newest players in the Fontaine Sea, which is the hereditary president Germanic country we're talking about, which belongs to Weibold. And then they were involved in the Fontaine Wars. And that just so happened to be, now, before the Fontaine Wars had escalated to that point, you largely had European powers versus Indonesian powers fighting in the Fontaine Sea. But now
Then the Western boys got in.
Well, yeah, but then you had another European power. Well, even before the Americas started really making waves out there, the New Douglas Republic, which is Weibold's country, because, again, of a case of mistaken identity, entered into the war. And now you had two powers in Europe that were fighting one another. And the moment that happened, you had almost all of the other European countries involved. Because alliance after alliance after alliance, suddenly everything's falling apart. Everyone's at war with one another. People are going to war because of alliances. People are going to war because they are afraid of their neighbor, and that sort of thing. And you have this huge this huge breakdown, this huge shakeup in Europe because of that.
Yep.
But think about like a powder keg.
Yeah.
And some idiot lights their cigar near it.
Mm-hmm.
That.
Yep. Couldn't read the sign.
Chink. Vroom.
Yeah.
World War.
Yeah. The amazing thing is that there hadn't been a world war prior. In fact, that is known. It's the Fontaine Wars, but it was known as. It wasn't known as the Great War. The Great War happened later. It was called the Fontaine Wars because it was so many different segmented conflicts around the world. They gave up on calling it just one war. They couldn't pin it down, so they called it the Fontaine Wars because they all could be drawn back to the Fontaine in some way.
Yeah.
It was all the fault of the things that went on there.
Yep.
Which, for those not in the know, Fontaine is a joke on the Fontaine fiasco, and we named this fictitious location off the coast of eastern Russia, and just sort of in the middle of the Pacific. It's Fontaine Sea. This ring of islands.
Yep.
Let's see. What am I doing? I don't know, but yeah, we've got plenty of stuff lined up. We've got lots of ideas. We've got nothing but ideas, and a bunch of scripts. And the ideal is, even if the world were to come to an end and we were no longer able to make the Iron Horsemen, somebody important died, or we lost all this, that, or the other, or whatever. We lost the whole route or something. Which isn't really possible because so many people have the route.
Yeah.
But
if someone dies, whoops.
Yeah, if it were to happen that way, where we could no longer make the Iron Horsemen route, or the Iron Horsemen Chronicles, the idea is to have at least all the ideas and as many episodes written as possible, so we could hypothetically release the manuscripts and give everyone the full story.
Right.
Give everyone some closure. Find out what happens to, find out what happens
Everyone.
with Katie and Cole. Find out, what happens with Chris's flashbacks. Find out what happens with, what's another loose thread. What happens with all the steam
mystery
engines.
Locomotive.
How does Blount get to Steamtown, and that kind of thing.
How does this connect with this?
Yeah, and also the
Well,
other
this-
the other
this is
important
like-
thing to touch on, and because I mentioned it once already, so 1962. 1962 is the date of the last steam operation on the Iron Horseman Railroad,
Yep.
and that engine was probably Mark, because it's
It
Mark.
was. There's no doubt about
Yeah.
it. It was Mark.
It was Mark. Funny story, Mark finished the completion of the Western Pacific Railroad at their Golden Spike at
Yep.
Feather River Canyon, and immediately decided that it was too boring to be on a regular railroad, so he went and contracted with the Iron Horsemen because they were in the middle of building their main line too. Or they were about to start.
Yep.
So, because he wanted nothing more than to be in the papers again, being at another Golden Spike. Something's
and
never
then when
changed.
they went to go do the recreation for the
Yeah.
40th anniversary of the Golden Spike, he went back.
Yeah, in 1949.
Yeah.
Uh,
He went back, got painted up in WP.
I mean, he never left He was always in WP.
I know, but they gave him the new logo and everything.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's when he must have changed.
Yeah.
Actually, I might have gaffed that. Might have to retcon something in an episode.
Yeah.
Might have to retcon something in Battle of the Age because he probably looks too new.
No,
I'm not
I
sure.
think we were using the 1910s version. of
Really?
it.
Okay, I would hope so. Because that would have been a gaff. That would have been a mistake.
No, there wasn't. Yeah. But for all intents and purposes, we can just say that it was in that things
Yeah.
when he did.
But
And then he came back to pull the California Shepherd in 1960.
Get me off this crazy thing.
Yeah. Yep.
But he wanted nothing more than to be publicized. Anyways.
Anyway.
Where was I? Yeah, 62 is the last steam operation on the Horsemen. He is the last steam locomotive that runs on the Horsemen. And so then the question is, what happens to everyone else? And it's not like they all disappear at the drop of a hat. One of the things that we've been planning out is, we sort of have blocked out, okay, in this year, this person and this person leave or get scrapped. In this year, this person leave or get scrapped. And it happens, it's like, okay, one or two people fairly early on, and then it's like, oh, okay, there goes this person,
everyone
and this person,
dies.
and this person, and this person. And I think we lose quite a few people in very rapid succession towards the end of the series.
Yes, we do. Because not everyone survives.
Not everything has a happy ending. We have the last episode is going to be Uncle Jerry covering to Steven where everyone ended up, at least everyone that he knows the whereabouts of. Which I'm not going to spoil where exactly anybody in particular ends up. But, some people stay on the railroad much longer. Some people leave the railroad very quickly. And, in some ways that ends up giving them a much different and potentially more interesting life than if they'd stayed on the Iron Horsemen. I'm thinking of one character in particular when I say that. Some people get picked up because they're the last of their kind, I believe. No, yes, but what I was trying to get to was some people get picked up because they were in the hands of the Iron Horsemen instead of their host railroad, and they either want to go back to their host railroad or their host railroad wants them for whatever reason, or their home road. And we do have a lot mapped out. We're not dancing in the dark as much as we did previously.
Were at the beginning.
Yeah. I very rarely ever go back to look at things from season 1. Because I'm like, I'm not sure if I want to go back and look at this.
Because you'll cringe.
It almost feels like we didn't quite know where we were going with the series until Chris showed up.
Yeah.
Because we had a couple of ideas, but we had not started writing season 2, and then we get an email like, hey, I want you to have a Reading T1 of the series. I'll voice it. I'll even pay for it. And that was the thing that started off us writing season 2 and the introduction of Chris's character. And Chris's character is like the linchpin in making season 2 cohesive.
Yeah.
It gave the Horsemen a direction.
Yeah.
Like it didn't give it a circle. It gave it a line. That makes sense.
It didn't give it a bunch of scattered dots, which is almost what it felt like it was. The first season was us very much trying to get our feet in the ground to figure out how do we do this. How do you make a series? How do you make Talking Trains work together and come up with interesting plots and stuff like that? I don't even really remember most of the stuff in season 1. I couldn't tell you what was in there if I tried. I know we've got, I know the largest thing that overarcs is Katie and Cole, but that's only in a couple of episodes. You've got Cole arrives on Stranger Ties, and then you have he meets Katie in Delayed Connections, and then they kind of don't really do that much, if I recall correctly, until Old Kate's Cole, which is the second to last episode of the season. We have like Milky, you mentioned earlier, we have an episode ideas doc where if we have like a thought, it just gets thrown in there. And it can be good. Some of them are good. Some of them are bad. Some of them are mediocre. Some of them are funny. Some of them are serious.
And then some of them just have overarching plots that can be used in more than one episode.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There are sometimes we'll chain ideas together. Like we have at least one 2-parter idea. We have at least one 3-parter idea.
We have multiple like 2-parter ideas now.
Yeah.
Like, at least 2.
And now that we've established the characters, we can do a lot more with how they would act and how they act and how what they feel and
Who they are.
yeah, we've got personality ideas, and the other thing that's important is that now the thing we haven't covered a lot is we haven't covered a lot of backstory, and for the individuals we've covered some backstory of the railroad, but there's definitely going to be some episodes and some things that we slip in where it's not going to be like, it might not necessarily be like, okay, we're going to have an episode dedicated to Sam's backstory, but we might have her talking about it to somebody in an episode.
Yeah.
And that's actually a bad example because there's an episode idea which does specifically talk about Sam's backstory. Belle's backstory, that's a particularly interesting one. That's really only ever been revealed on the... We have a document where we keep track of all the engines. It's called the Warships Universe Database.
Locomotives.
Yeah, the locomotive, because we would hypothetically have other documents for ships and planes and cars and whatnot.
Yep.
And maybe like little steam kettles. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think a kettle would be big enough. Warships Universe Database, volcanoes.
Yeah, it's like volcanoes are a thing. They just don't talk.
Volcanoes are big enough and powerful enough that they can have sentience. That's
and kill someone by speaking.
Yeah. Well, you think if it would try to vibrate to talk, it might just cause an earthquake or erupt.
Yeah.
That's why, like, the what do you call it? The myths and legends of like the volcano demon, the volcano god. It's that's a real thing. They get pissed off if you're digging into them. They might not be too happy with you. I don't know what else. But yeah, we've got plenty. We're working. That's the thing I always have to tell people when we talk about the Iron Horsemen Chronicles. It's like, yeah, we are working on it. We haven't abandoned it. And
that's what I tell people too.
I'll see to it. Yeah. I'll see to it that we haven't abandoned the Iron Horsemen Chronicles. There's a lot of story to tell. We've invested a lot of time into it. And I think they're worthwhile stories.
Yeah, they are.
We've got a whole universe to play with. What's another... Whose backstory haven't we covered? We wanted to talk about Sally's backstory a little bit. And stuff with the World's Fair and...
I mean, yeah, like, she does know Johnson from before the Horsemen. I mean, that's been touched upon in the Johnson short stories.
Yeah. They didn't know each other very well, but they at least had run-ins.
Yeah.
And that's the thing we've never seen. We've never seen, like, what was it like when Johnson first arrived and Sally first arrived, and it's like, oh, it's you. By the time of the Iron Horsemen Chronicles, they've largely sorted out their differences, and they just sort of, they tolerate each other and they bust each other's chops a little bit.
Yeah. But they're like a brother sister kind of thing. In a weird way, but still.
I'm supposed to hate you. Yeah, I know. You don't?
No, definitely.
Oh, no, I definitely do. Oh, that's very nice of you.
That's very nice of you.
Yeah.
Very nice of you. I hate you too.
Yeah, that's what I was, what I was trying to say with Chris. It's like I can't really picture the railroad without Chris at this point because he's become a real good all-arounder for Troy. We didn't really have a big engine in Troy before now because everybody else was Eastern Division. And just having him there and having him be sort of a messenger sort of let us have more stuff with the dock, which there's a lot more stuff with the dock in Season 3 in Davenport. And allowed us to sort of give engines more solidified roles instead of being like, I guess this person's here. Which still happens a little bit because Nick and Cole, it's like, where are they? Oh, they're all over the place.
Oh, they get to talk to these people.
Yeah.
They're usually there.
Yeah. But
Like,
like what?
Hmm?
I don't know.
oh.
Someone said something.
Yeah. I mean, you said like, and then you didn't finish your sentence, Milky.
Speak.
No pun intended, but I need to get my train of thought back on track.
Man.
Well, you look at the yeah. So, for just to talk about the future directly for a little bit.
Yeah.
For the immediate future, we're going to still be working on To Rule the World. When that's done, I'm going to finish the short story set first, which
And
is,
then-
as has been mentioned, it's close to being done, but it isn't done. Then, following that, we have an episode that's already finished that just needs to get put out. But I might swap the intro for a new one, so we'd have to make a new intro for that.
Which we have ideas for.
Which Milky, you've compiled some ideas, and we'll be able to work on. It's not like it's that complicated. It just takes a day of shooting in trains or so.
Yeah.
And then we can move on to the next episode, which I think the episode after that needs to get its script finished, finalized. Because it's a narrow gauge episode. And then
we have one coming up pertaining the Battlefields story.
Yeah, but that's going to be in season 4.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about just in season 2B.
Oh.
I'm saying, after that, so it's going to, the priorities are, well, for me, I'm going to be doing a lot of script work still. I'm going to be trying to work on the script for the episode that isn't finished yet, if I can get permission to fiddle with it. I'm going to try to get... I'm going to try to get... No, I need to cut this highway back because I need to actually make it climb the hill instead of just hanging around down here.
Yeah.
No. We're going to get the other episode wrapped up, or the other episodes, and the finishing touches done on A Christmas Coal after To Rule the World is done, and then that'll come out, but in between the short story set has to come out.
Yep.
And that should give us time to do the other things that we need to do, and then we can get some more real episodes produced that aren't features, and that won't hopefully take as much time and effort, and they won't be as difficult. That's the ideal. That's the goal. Let me just I'm gonna bring this.
Okay. So the episodes are getting out of the snow.
Yeah, we're shoveling.
Barely.
We're shoveling.
Yeah.
Yeah, because freaking Harry's died.
Yeah, Harry broke down the other day.
The other day being a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
No. He does actually show up. There's a particular episode that's coming up that one of our fans has been waiting for with bated breath for a very long time. Ever since it was suggested and accepted. And that would be an episode which the title does not give anything away. The episode is called Losing Track. We have somebody that is thoroughly invested in that episode and has been waiting for it. But then that's going to come out. That's one of the episodes in season 2B. And then, yeah, that's like the second to last episode in season 2B. Is it not? Losing Track?
I'll check. Yes.
Yeah. So we have. Yeah, and I'll mention this. What we've got A Christmas Coal, which we've already mentioned. It's our obligatory Christmas special and Christmas. A Christmas Carol parody. It's not really a parody. It's just, it's our interpretation of the Christmas Carol story. Because we're not making fun of it. We're just utilizing that backdrop. Then we have Round Hill Rollover, I think, which is the working title for an episode that isn't finished, so we don't know what it's going to be eventually called, but it's a narrow gauge episode.
Followed by The Raven.
Yeah, followed by The Raven, which is an episode about Eric and a passenger train. Followed by...
Losing Track.
Yeah, followed by Losing Track, followed by When the Man Comes Around, which is our guest episode. Written by Flegel, and it ties up the story with Lassie. It's actually quite a long episode. Its scripts are normally 20 to 25 pages. That one is 27.
Yeah.
So, we could trim it a little bit, but I've already done a little bit of that. I think it was originally about 29 episodes, and I went in there with him and I removed some stuff. And then I went in again and removed some more stuff.
29 episodes, so
or 29, whatever. 29 pages.
Yes, we're doing a whole 3 seasons.
We're doing 3 seasons of this.
Yeah.
Of this episode. 3 seasons.
That's where all your seasons are.
Yeah, they're there. But yeah, then we move on to season 3.
Yeah.
Season 3 has an opener that's not done yet, but it has to do with some chemistry of some engines that's been developing.
Yep.
And how that gets ruined.
And there's a big story arc
Yeah.
that goes on in it too.
Yeah, then we get into the big story arc of that, which involves some people and some things that have been touched on from the very first episode of each of their characters.
Yep.
Which, from when we met them, it's kind of funny to think
It's a
that.
throwback.
Yeah, I always think about like, oh yeah, Chris is the, we knew about all the characters and then we met Chris, but that's only partially true, because, some of the characters were introduced immediately and some of them were introduced a few episodes down the road or very close to the end of the season.
And
Like,
some of the characters are completely different now than they were in production.
Yeah, or in pre-production, you mean?
Like Mark was just going to be the waggedy old man character, but now he's fucking Scrooge McDuck.
Exactly. Mark is Scrooge McDuck. Mark is the Scrooge McDuck of the railroad. We had too many raggedy old man characters, so they had to be differentiated, and you can see that differentiation in one of my favorite episodes of all time.
Yep.
Which is Council of Elders.
Where they all get together.
Yeah.
And hate each other.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Mark and Lee and Gabe and
he's choosing which cup to fish in.
Who's the fourth elder? I don't remember.
Mark, Lee,
Hebert?
Gabe, and Hebert.
Yeah, thank you, Hebert. I always forget about them. That's why he was written a certain way. That's why, like, Hebert shows up a little bit.
He shows up a little bit in quite a few episodes, but
Yeah, but he largely just shows up a little bit.
Yeah.
That's the thing with Hebert. He's not exactly an upfront character, which is something that needs to be worked on, but something that plays into his whole arc, his whole story.
Yeah.
Because it's just, that's who he is.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot that goes on there. All right. Well, let's see. We're at an hour and a half. We can kill the Iron Horseman discussion now. I hope everyone got an earful. I hope everyone doesn't feel spoiled because we've really only
Send this to a friend of mine.
really only taken a small chip off of the iceberg that is the Iron Horsemen Chronicles and the 10 seasons that we've got planned. I feel like we've beaten around the bush enough. Mason.
Yes.
Would you like to show me how to make things better in my woods?
Sure.
Yes.
So, go find the edge of some woods, I guess.
See my beautiful woods, Mason?
I do.
They're gorgeous.
Also, I spent so much time preparing this land to put mountains on, and I didn't put any on it yet, so I can't build any more track. Yeah. But this would be the high point. I need to get over this rise. Which...
Do you guys hear obnoxiousness coming from my mic?
I hear a couple of orcs.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Alright, let's go
For some
find a place
reason, everyone feels the need to, like, jump and aggravate the dog directly above my room.
Alright, so let's see. We've got this area. This area is pretty heavily forested. This is where the VMR turns into one track. Which, speaking of VMR, one second, I want to show something off. And they're not actually VMR, but these are now on the download station, and you can get them yourself. Thanks to Mason for making them. It is a Zion and Skyline hopper with auto-running numbers, a set of, what, 100?
There was a different number for each of them. It's on the dock somewhere.
Oh, whoops, that's a Gilson Eastern hopper. Well, yeah, but it's auto-numbering, and I think it's the last two digits change? Yeah.
3 digits.
And then the last 3 digits change on the Gilson Eastern ones. Which have the nice low-res thing, which that's just my computer, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just in whatever resolution it comes in, because I put it in with the full resolution, so I don't know.
But, okay, so we've got a forest here. I've got one side that actually slopes down, which is sort of a problem because you can see past the grass into area where there isn't grass. And that looks bad. And the alternative is covering the entire world with grass, which is something I could do if I wanted to burn my computer.
Or if you wanted to die.
Speaking of which, I forgot to put grass here.
Okay.
Alright, so Mason, I am in an area of grass.
Grass.
Gas. Wait a minute.
So let's fill this in here because this is, like I said, something that I've forgotten to do. I need to get the edge because this is on an embankment, but I think I'm just going to ignore the fact that it's on a relatively low embankment and just put the grass without changing the texture.
Yeah.
So that shouldn't really change anything. Yeah, we're close to olive now. Things have got to be hurting. That's what I could have done. I should have just shut down the render distance.
Yeah.
Close that down. Now, I used to run on like 2.5 kilometers. Now I run on 6. Now I can actually
What
see.
I do, this is very helpful for forests,
Yep.
is you take
Take all the trees.
update replace tool, put them on a different layer.
Yep.
It also makes it a lot easier to tell what areas you've done the correct splines and textures for, because there aren't trees in the way.
Yeah. I mean, I've been getting into the habit of doing the splines first. And then, of course, the texture gets pasted, but the texture is easy to just... If it's going to be anything other than generic forest texture, I'm going to delete the trees. Like, there aren't going to be trees in the way. I'll put them back later, maybe. So I've also gotten in the habit of stringing this along the side and the bottom of cuts. I think it looks okay. I can't ask you to show me how to do the new, whatever you call it. for
TRC.
crossings. Yeah, that. But, like you said, I'm not sure if there are the proper era things on the DLS. So I'm gonna just finish filling this in here. Yeah, this area, I want to run a train on this. Lately, I've been just feeling like, okay, I want to put a couple of Mikados and a couple of RS3s on the front of a train and run it up the VMR. All the way to the end of track here. Alright, whenever you're ready, let me know.
Okay, so
I can just zip back there.
go to your content search filter.
No.
No.
Wow,
Content
rude.
search
Screw
filter, got it.
you.
JVC,
You see,
hashtag, as the kids call it
pound
these days.
sign.
Parentheses, SH1,
SH1. Okay. These
Okay,
guys.
yep, that's the stuff.
Yeah, I was toying
So-
around with these a little bit. They didn't really grab me, but maybe it's because I wasn't using them right. Wow, those are small
So-
and sad.
Well,
about these guys? Whoops. No, I'm holding shift.
Yeah, those guys are good.
Yeah, I've used
So
these
what I
guys on
do
the islands
is-
a little bit.
I use the first one in the list that pops up for me. It's spline C258 meter
Yeah.
as the farthest one back into the forest.
Oh, really? Okay.
And
Those seem
then
kind of small. Like you wouldn't be able to see them behind bigger things,
I give some perspective.
I guess. Okay, so I put them in the back there.
is it here, what is the number on the end of it?
58 meters. 58 M.
Okay.
Should there be 5 or should there be more?
It should be 5. Yeah.
Okay. There are 2, so it's the C2 58 meters?
Yes, because that's the biggest one there is.
No, the biggest one is the
Or no.
60 meters.
Okay, they're very, very similar. I think one's just
Get out of here.
denser, maybe.
Okay. Well, this one is much larger. Yeah, okay. I mean, I started doing this a little bit over on the other side of the riverbank.
So you put that on the farthest back, and then in front of that, let's see. Oh, that's why you were looking at the small one, is because I clicked on it and it didn't actually change, so I was also looking at the small one. Then you use the C2 58 meter, that's the medium sized one.
Okay.
And then in front of that would be the C3 58 meter.
Okay. So there's a little too much. Too much I can see in the back there. I want to get rid of that. Bye. Because breaking up line of sight inside of the track, see, it's always the little things that make such a dramatic difference to the way the route looks. You know, it's something that might take a little bit of effort, but it's something that ultimately, when you look at it on its own, it's like, well, yeah, so it's, you know, it's some grass. What does that matter? But it definitely matters. A lot. You know, routes before and after grass are, it's like night and day. And I've talked about this on the show before sometimes. And actually, if I look over here, I think, yeah, I started doing it, whoa, in the back here. But that's actually kind of too close, so I see how it helps when you put it a little bit farther back. Like on this side. Yeah, as long as it's high enough that you can't see that there isn't grass behind it, it's okay. It's good.
Another thing that I do is add all the little bushes. They're like the older 2D ones, you know, where it's just two 2D textures put together at 90 degrees. But when they're blended in with the rest of the splines, it looks completely fine.
Mm-hmm.
So the ones that I use a lot are CL Bush TN, and then there's a whole bunch of those.
Is that a spline or is that an object?
Object.
Oh, jeez. I don't think I have that.
Well, you just download them off the DLS whenever, because there's a whole
No, I
bunch of
don't
them.
believe in that. No. I don't know. That's a thought.
They add a lot of variety, because there's brown bushes and green ones and a whole bunch of different sizes.
Mm-hmm.
So they're really useful for closer to the track.
Okay. Yeah, I will consider that a little bit more. I do my best to stick with splines, but yeah, if I can do... See, the thing with that is, the objects I'm doing are almost all the trees, and I'm just copying and pasting giant swaths of trees, which that's easy enough to do, except when the game crashes.
I copy and paste sections of, like, just basically a palette, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Just copy a whole bunch of them, put them down next to the tracks, and then spread them out to wherever I want them.
That makes sense. What I always end up doing is when I paste down a giant section of trees, I end up just moving the offending ones out of the way. Like ones that are on top of a piece of track or something.
Yeah.
That's, that's good. That helps. So.
What I'm doing right now on my route is I place trees across the whole thing because it's really small right now, so I can do that without breaking everything. And then delete it out where the roads and tracks are. And now I'm cutting out sections of it depending on how the terrain is for farmland.
Yeah, that's a good thing to do. That's something I can recommend. I think if it's going to be a big enough section for farmland, I'm not going to bother cutting it out. I'm just going to not copy-paste trees there in the first place. But if you're cutting out a small thing like the sheep farm in Olive, or the whatever farm that is, because it's got more than sheep. The sheep are just the ones I remember. Then I would have to recommend doing that. Oh, and I also have another comment that I need to respond to. That's right. It's Bonnie Gaming, asks, are you going to have a locomotive builder in the map? Also, does the NST transport goods and stuff? And does it connect to the GERR or the ZSRR? For the second question, yes. So, the area around Gilson City is fairly shallow. The water around Gilson City is fairly shallow. And it goes out far enough that to fill it in to get to deep water would be a hindrance. It would be not cost effective. So what they did instead was they crossed the strait, of which the strait is not particularly deep either. And it's not that wide, to get to a place called Meridian Isle, which does have fairly deep water surrounding it. The railroad that owns the trackage that crosses the strait is the New Shoreham Tramway, and they handle all of the connections to New Shoreham, which is on the island, which is where the seaport is. So they are the ones taking all of the cargo brought in by the Gilson Eastern and the Zion and Skyline to the ships that it needs to go to the dockside. And that's why, they also serve as a terminal railway for Gilson City and as well operate all of the interurban, or the intra-urban, really, the streetcar services.
Yeah.
And some of the just in the city sort of commuter lines. Because Gilson City is not a small place. I'm going to go nuts with that place. You guys are not prepared. I'm not prepared. Nobody's prepared for Gilson City.
Yeah.
It's impossible to prepare for because it's so goddamn big. And I know a thing or two about that.
Reminds me of another city.
Yeah?
That's in hypothetical planning.
Oh, yeah. Also,
Alright.
This one's worse because we don't have 6 people to make it.
That's true. But again, on another one, we have 6 people make.
Yeah.
Anyway, I gotta go to the quote-unquote unlimited spaghetti works, so I will not be here for the finish. So
That's fine.
just letting you know.
Thank you for joining us, Dean.
Yeah,
Don't worry about
it.
I was happy to help. Bye bye.
Bye.
Okay.
So I would like to, if I can do anything. Oh, and the other question was, or the other part of the question was, will there be a locomotive builder on the map? I actually hadn't considered having a locomotive works, but that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I just need to figure out where to put it. Maybe.
In what manufacturer?
Yeah. What are they making? They're making Alcos.
Maybe they could be a locomotive rebuilding Firm.
Call it Crayfish Locomotive Works.
Yeah, crayfish works. Can I have your alcohol?
But I'm gonna fill this area in. I'm gonna work on this area here. I want to be able to get the track over. I think I'm going to make it largely flattish after this. After we come over here, which means I just need to raise this up high enough that I can create a new base height and run the track on that.
Yeah.
Make sure that I'm on the route layer still.
That's always good.
Yep. I would hate myself if I screwed that up.
Yeah.
I've already screwed it up before. There's things I've had to redo. The terrain stays the same, though. The terrain is always on the route layer. The track and other stuff is not. The track and objects aren't. So you can lose a lot of progress, but you'll probably know where the track went. It's just, if you're having to put down buildings and trees and stuff again, it's gonna suck. It's gonna take a long time sometimes, depending on how much time you put into it. I mean, ideally, or arguably, you'll spend less time redoing it, but you don't want to spend that time.
Yeah, I know.
On the other hand, if you've finished a long day of work and you're unhappy with the work, it might be a relief that you can do it again, but I don't think that happens all that much.
No.
Especially if you've been working for hours on end.
Yeah.
I have to put a big sign for myself on the way into the route. Or like in the route description, it says only edit in route layer.
Yep.
I can't wait for those train changes though. I need it.
Oh yeah.
I really need to get back to automating this because it's going to make me so much happier to see it operating. That means I'll probably have to do the Mason's Landing industries and get them ready. At least a little bit. But the thing is, I was going to do the math for them today, and then I realized they're not on the spreadsheet yet. I haven't actually put them on the spreadsheet yet, so I don't know how much they consume. I don't know how much they produce. And also, I need to change the preferred freight car from the B&M hoppers, which were placeholders, to Gilson Eastern and Zion and Skyline hoppers.
Yeah. I need to put placeholders down on my route.
Well, it was important because I needed to get an idea of what commodities were being held by what.
Yeah.
For the sake of the spreadsheet, I needed to have some numbers. The spreadsheet is my one true love. Just kidding.
Yeah.
But I have spent a lot of time on that spreadsheet. And I'm so glad that something is actually on the DLS. Mason.
Yeah?
Did you change the color of the thing on the spreadsheet?
It's a good question. I don't believe so.
You can change it to, I think, blue now that it's uploaded.
Okay.
And you could probably put a keyword number in there as well.
Where should I put that?
Well, you see, where it shows the 2-bay hopper?
Yeah?
Like, change the green to blue, and then where the blue is, put a keyword number in that. Oh, wait, no, that's a number. Damn it.
Yeah.
Alright, I don't know then. What is the description for it right now? What is it called in the on the document?
ACF 2-bay hopper.
Oh, okay. Now, you should change that to the actual name of it on the DLS. So like 2-bay, whatever it is. I think it's just 2-bay ACF hopper and then the name of the railroad. Isn't it?
Something like that.
I actually have it right here. It's, 2-bay ACF Cov hopper. You're a Cov hopper. Seriously, it sounds mean. So I'm gonna also separate. Doing this, what I'm doing here is I'm trying to separate two watersheds, because the stuff behind the mountain versus the stuff in front of the mountain, and B, the two main lines. So I'm gonna have the VMR behind the mountain and the Gilson Eastern in front of it, which is something I was largely trying to do, and something I was largely doing until I ran into what I ran into last episode, where I cock-blocked myself from building a railroad where I wanted it.
That's a quote.
Yes. I made a fairly significant mistake that prevented me from building behind the mountain. I had to bring it in front of the mountain. It almost looks like it would connect if you just drew a straight line. So we just picked up where we left off. Alright, how high is this? What's the lowest point on this? I think it's like right here. This should be good enough. What height is this? This is 85. That's good. That is good enough. I'll take it.
Hey, that's right. Hey, start naming industries.
We need to do that. That's something else. That's something that I need to do, I think. I'm not sure I gave...
It's something I started doing, but all the industries are already here. I just need to go through and name them all.
I need to find names for... I'm not sure if I made a name for the brewery.
I think I also need to finish the Great Cantonary redo project.
Oh, using the IRM stuff?
Yeah, I'm converting from the default ones to the IRM ones. They're superior.
The default stuff is which stuff?
You know the stuff with the concrete base and like the steel pole?
I don't remember. The only time I've dealt with Catenary anything so far is when I was working on Douglas.
Yeah,
That
I
has the
think we
Milwaukee
made...
stuff.
Oh, actually, no, we were using the mill.
Yeah.
The Milwaukee Road stuff there. But anyways, what these are their wooden posts that support Canary. And they're sexy as hell.
Yeah, I have...
Compared-
I think I
Compared
downloaded
to what
them.
they were.
I think I downloaded them. Yeah. I was,
TNT Express, no, that's not going to be the name of this industry. Town am I in? I think I've named just about every industry on the navigate. The interurban, I need to name stuff.
I'm just going to fill this in, and then I will know what level I'm working with. Which I do know... I know it numerically. I know that it's 85. But I don't know what that translates to. I think my track is at 85 or so. I don't really want to dip too far below that, because then it doesn't make sense to climb up all this way in the first place.
Is Woodin the name of this? You know what? It's going to call it Woodin.
That's the most important thing here. The railroad actually has to make sense.
Oh no.
I'm going through
Woodin goods.
Woodland Scenics. Alright, let's add some ground.
That's right, I gave real bits of chunks in the new states.
Add some ground. And now we just need to fill in this spot, which we only have a few minutes, so I don't think I'm going to be doing that. At least not completely. But what I can do
Real bits of chunks in the states.
is just flatten it out a little bit, make it a little bit realish.
Yeah.
And then do a little bit of terrain raising exercises. And I do want the back side here to still be higher. This is still leading up the mountain. The center of the peninsula is quite high.
Hey, Boston 72. The hell?
The thing is, I don't think I'm gonna get high enough to break snow level. I might, but I know I can adjust what snow level is. It's just a question of, do I want to create that? Do I want to make snow caps? I mean, I do. They look cool. But like, at what point am I really going to? Because this is supposed to be sort of generic. You know, it's not like the season changes very much. But as we get higher, we're probably going to get into some alpine stuff.
Yeah.
Sort of like Mount Washington as you go up, and then smaller trees, shrubberies, eventually no trees. Yeah, but that's if we get that high. Now, Mount Washington is... And I'll try to do that realistically. Mount Washington is like 6,200 feet or so. So it's about 2 kilometers high. And we're at 1/10 of a kilometer. So I don't think I'm going to make it that high. I know you stop seeing trees. It's somewhere around 5,000 probably. Or so. I don't know, I hiked up it. I just don't know when the trees stopped. Wasn't paying all that much attention. But I know some of the peaks that are 4,000 and below, you don't get a good view from the summit because it's covered in trees. But the peak that we went to, obviously, Mount Washington is not. And the other peak that we went to, which is Mount Jefferson, which is very, very close, is also... Oh, crap, what did I just do? Is also above 5,000. And doesn't have trees either. Or any vegetation at all, really. The thing about the vegetation up there, it's one of the only places in the US that, if not the world really, that it has that specific climate, and so some very, very unique stuff grows there. Very unique flowers and bushes and stuff, to the point where they are very emphatic about people staying on the paths and not just trampling stuff. And it's also, I believe, why you can't camp up there unless you camp at a predefined campsite. I'm not sure what sort of lunatic would want to camp on Mount Washington anyways, because you would just get blown straight off the mountain.
Yeah.
They call it the worst weather in the world for a reason. Also, where's the invisible line I can't cross? It's right here. I can't cross this spot. Which is unfortunate, because the easiest way up is over here. Crap. I will get this railroad over this rise. Oh, tell me I didn't ruin the recording. Okay. I will get this railroad over this rise. I can do it. I think the easiest way looks something like this. With a little bit of cutting. Oh, you know what? I need to turn on gradients. Where's gradients? Hide this. Do this. Gradients. That doesn't look all too bad except for the 7% grade.
Jeez. I thought my grades were bad.
Well, see, I need to fix this. That's the thing. I at least fix it.
Get my railroad's 3 foot so it can go up steeper.
Yeah. This is a kink, which I need to fix.
Oh, Ellis.
Somebody
Yarp.
fix on myself.
BDW has a whole bunch of lights,
Yeah.
including some yard lights.
Yeah, ARP. I think do I not have those? I thought I had those.
Should.
Are they built in?
They're street lights. No, they're DLS.
Okay.
Their street lights are actually tell you like what era they're from too.
Okay.
So there's 1940s through 70s lights.
Cool.
It's pretty cool.
code. SOS.
Yeah, my alarm is going off, and for some reason it's deciding to do that as well.
Oh,
What the heck?
Because save our ship, Mason.
Yeah. It was ship.
Whoops. Well, I have no idea how this is going to look, but I can only assume it's going to be a pretty deep cut. Actually, that is not as bad as I expected.
Oh, I'm halfway through all the industries.
But I think this curve is too tight.
Oh,
Yeah, it's too tight. I don't like that.
wait.
That's like the angle over here, but worse. It's like a freaking hairpin. Yeah, I need to fix this.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I named this Concord Grain Enterprises.
Alright, so I'm going to undo that down to there. And
Ellie.
I will have to find another way up, but we are coming dangerously close to our invisible line that we are not allowed to cross. Or else I will have to add another tile. So, well, we'll figure this one out. But we might just have to do it anyways. And then I won't add an additional tile. Just if I wrap around over here, it should be... yeah, but this is higher. No, we're going to have to bite the bullet and come through over here. We just need to fix the curve. But, I'd like to thank you guys for joining me for this episode. Milky and Mason.
Pleasure being on.
And if you have any discussion topics, things you want us to talk about, go ahead and post them down below. If you got any questions for me about anything, including the route especially, post them down below. And I will address them next episode. And I will see you next week. Train Man.
Milky.
Milky.
And Mason.
Out.